Next, the best-selling fantasy writer who was afraid to give up his day job, Terry Brooks. Stand by.
I get put in the fantasy department in the bookstores, and I'm considered to be a fantasy writer, but the fact is the bulk of my readers tend to be people who read outside the field.
Terry Brooks' Shannara and Magic Kingdom books have made him one of today's top-selling novelists. His latest book, First King of Shannara, recently made the New York Times bestseller list. Worldwide, Brooks has over 13 million books in print. The author has accomplished this feat by writing fantasy that appeals not just to fans of the genre. Brooks snares mainstream readers, too, by infusing fantasy with sweeping adventure in the grand European tradition.
The main influences in my writing come from the European adventure story writers, and I'm really rewriting Ivanhoe and the Count of Monte Cristo and the White Company and Quentin Durward.
So I'm going to read you the first chapter.
At one point, it looked like Brooks was destined not to write novels, but legal briefs. Giving in to Midwestern small-town pressures, he entered law school, but he couldn't suppress his creative urges.
I started The Sword of Shannara, my first book, when I was in law school because I was going nuts. And I had to do something to take the edge off of what's involved, because law school is a very intense and unpleasant experience. So I started that book, and then when I got out, I was still writing it, and then I went back to my hometown. I started practicing in a small firm, and for several more years after that, I continued to write this book.
Practicing law by day and writing all night, Brooks took 6 years to complete the book. His dedication paid off. The novel became the first work of fiction ever to crack the New York Times trade paperback bestseller list. But Brooks could not appreciate this accomplishment.
I didn't know anything. You know, I was in a small town in the Midwest. I knew nothing about the publishing world. I had no idea. I thought everybody got on the New York Times bestseller list.
Great! I like it. How you doing?
Afraid to become a full-time writer, Brooks practiced law for another 10 years. During that time, he wrote 4 books, all of which made the bestseller lists. 2 of them went to #1.
I was making very good money as a writer, but I wasn't making any money as a lawyer. That's why I was, you know, it didn't make much sense for me to be spending the bulk of my time, 60 hours a week, practicing law for a pittance, and not spending hardly any time on writing, where I had a chance to make a lot of money, and that was really what I wanted to do anyway.
In 1986, Brooks retired from law. He penned 3 more Shannara books and then launched the equally popular Magic Kingdom series. Now he's poised to take the fantasy adventure story in a whole new direction.
Having 2 series has helped me to go back and forth, which is what I do to stay fresh between the one and the other. And in '97, I'll be publishing a 3rd series, and that will give me and it's time. I need to do something different. I've been writing in 2 series for 20 years now.
Those 2 decades of experience have made Terry Brooks finally understand the significance of having his first book make the bestseller list.
I think maybe as time goes by, I look back more and more and say, good God, how did this happen? You know, that was quite the incredible piece of luck you experienced, Buster.